When Hurricane Katrina slammed into Louisiana, families weren't just fighting the floodwaters, they were fighting hunger, darkness, and cold. Yet the ones who survived longest didn't rely on fancy gear or expensive kits. They used simple household items that most people throw in the trash. What I'm about to show you will flip the way you see your own home, because these everyday products could mean the difference between life and death in the next blackout or disaster. And here's the shocking part. You can get every single one of them for less than the price of dinner at a cheap restaurant. Stick with me till the end, because the last item on this list is the one most preppers overlook, and it could save your life. And while you're here, subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Number 1. Vinegar. When most people look at vinegar, they see nothing more than a cheap cooking ingredient. Survival experts, on the other hand, see one of the most powerful multi-purpose tools hiding in plain sight. During the 2021 Texas freeze, families trapped without running water discovered that vinegar wasn't just for flavor, it was a lifesaver. With just a few bottles, they were able to clean wounds, disinfect surfaces, and even preserve food when refrigeration failed. The science is astonishingly simple. Vinegar is essentially acetic acid, which creates an environment hostile to harmful bacteria, mold, and even some viruses. The CDC acknowledges its effectiveness as a natural disinfectant, especially when commercial cleaning supplies disappear from store shelves. A simple vinegar solution can sanitize kitchen counters, bathroom surfaces, and cooking utensils during extended blackouts, reducing the risk of illness when medical help is days away. But here's where vinegar takes survival to another level: food preservation. For centuries, civilizations relied on vinegar pickling to extend the life of vegetables, eggs, and meats. In fact, Civil War soldiers carried vinegar-pickled rations that lasted months without refrigeration. When modern freezers fail, that same process can keep your food edible long after neighbors are throwing theirs out. The medical applications are equally impressive. Vinegar mixed with water soothes sunburns, insect stings, and even fungal infections. In 2019, hikers stranded in the Smoky Mountains reported using diluted vinegar to treat painful athletes' foot infections that threatened to immobilize them. Within days, the symptoms cleared enough for them to walk out safely. Vinegar rinses can also ease sore throats, reduce fevers, and help control bacterial skin infections when pharmacies are inaccessible. Don't overlook its value for morale. In emergencies, taste fatigue becomes a real threat. Eating bland survival food day after day crushes appetite and spirit. A splash of vinegar transforms rice, beans, or preserved meats, restoring flavor and making meals feel normal again. That tiny boost in morale can keep a family's willpower strong during prolonged crises. Storage is effortless. A gallon jug costs less than $3 and lasts indefinitely when sealed. Unlike bleach, vinegar doesn't degrade quickly and doesn't require careful handling. Number 2. Sanitary pads. When most people think of sanitary pads, they see a single-purpose product tucked away in the bathroom cabinet. Survival experts, however, recognize them as one of the most underestimated emergency tools you can own. During the 2010 Haiti earthquake, relief workers quickly ran out of traditional medical supplies. What did they use to stop bleeding and protect wounds? Sanitary pads. This overlooked item saved countless lives before professional aid arrived. Here's the science. Sanitary pads are engineered to absorb and lock in fluid quickly, using highly sterile, non-toxic materials designed to prevent infection. That makes them remarkably effective as improvised trauma dressings. When accidents happen during disasters, chainsaw cuts while clearing debris, glass wounds during earthquakes, or vehicle injuries in evacuations, pads can absorb large amounts of blood, apply even pressure, and help prevent life-threatening hemorrhage. Unlike makeshift rags or towels, pads are individually wrapped and sterile right out of the package, which gives them a medical edge in survival situations. But their versatility doesn't end with wound care. Sanitary pads can double as padding inside shoes to prevent blisters during long evacuations, or as sweat-absorbing liners in helmets and hats. In desert survival training, soldiers have used pads to line headgear, keeping sweat out of their eyes while marching in extreme heat. They're also excellent for protecting fragile electronics or glass when packing an emergency evacuation bag, acting as shock absorbers that weigh almost nothing. During the 2017 California wildfires, families who fled their homes with little more than go bags discovered another use. With clean water scarce, women reported using sanitary pads as improvised filters to pre-clean muddy water before boiling. While not a substitute for purification, pads remove debris and sediment, making water safe to treat with fire or purification tablets. Morale is another hidden benefit. In long-term emergencies, hygiene products become priceless, especially for women who cannot easily replace them. Maintaining dignity and normal routines during chaos reduces psychological stress, particularly for families sheltering together in cramped conditions. Something as simple as having sanitary pads available can make a critical difference in comfort and emotional resilience. The best part? Sanitary pads are cheap, lightweight, and store for years without losing effectiveness. A single box costs under $6 and can provide medical dressings, comfort solutions, water filtration, and hygiene support for multiple people. Add a few packs to your emergency kit. You may never look at this everyday item the same way again. Number 3. Gelatin packets. Most people think of gelatin packets as nothing more than dessert ingredients, something to whip up for Jell-O or candy recipes. But hidden inside those small envelopes is one of the most underrated survival tools you can store. During World War II, soldiers and civilians alike used gelatin not just for food but for medicine, preservation, and even improvised repairs. In modern emergencies, this cheap kitchen staple still carries enormous life-saving potential. Here's the science. Gelatin is derived from collagen, the protein found in animal bones and connective tissue. When mixed with hot water, it forms a sticky gel that hardens as it cools. That simple reaction creates dozens of survival applications. In fact, early medical handbooks documented gelatin being used as a wound sealant before modern surgical adhesives existed. When applied to minor cuts or abrasions, a cooled gelatin layer can act as a temporary barrier, slowing bleeding and keeping out dirt until proper treatment is available. Nutrition is another overlooked strength. A single packet of gelatin provides essential amino acids, particularly glycine and proline, which support joint health, skin repair, and digestion. During prolonged emergencies when diets become limited to rice, beans, or canned goods, gelatin can fill in nutritional gaps that prevent fatigue and illness. Doctors during the 1932nd Depression prescribed gelatin to malnourished families as a cheap protein booster, and the same logic applies in modern prepping. But the uses don't stop there. Gelatin works as a natural food preservative. When poured over cooked meats or vegetables and allowed to cool, it creates a protective layer that slows spoilage by blocking out oxygen and bacteria. French households relied on this exact technique for centuries before refrigeration existed, storing cooked meals safely for days or even weeks. In a blackout scenario, this simple trick can mean the difference between wasted food and extended rations. Disaster stories confirm its versatility. During the Balkan conflicts of the 1992nd, civilians trapped without reliable refrigeration reported using gelatin to extend the life of meats and soups, sometimes doubling their safe storage period. For families surviving on limited supplies, that extra time meant survival. On the practical side, gelatin also works as an emergency glue. Mixed to a thick consistency, it bonds paper, cloth, and light wood, handy for quick repairs when modern adhesives are unavailable. Hunters and survivalists have even used gelatin-based mixtures to waterproof fabric temporarily. At under $2 per box and storing almost indefinitely in a dry environment, gelatin packets deliver a survival return far beyond their cost. Lightweight, compact, and multi-purpose, they deserve a permanent place in every prepper's pantry. Number 4. Cornstarch. To most people, cornstarch is just a thickener for soups and gravies. But in survival circles, this humble white powder is one of the most versatile emergency tools you can buy. During the Great Depression, families without access to modern medicine and expensive cleaners turned to cornstarch daily for food, for health, and even for household emergencies. In today's fragile world, it remains a dirt-cheap but powerful prep hiding in your kitchen cabinet. The science behind it is simple. Cornstarch is a carbohydrate polymer that absorbs moisture, binds fats, and creates a protective barrier on skin and surfaces. These properties open the door to dozens of survival uses, each more surprising than the last. Start with medical care. Cornstarch is a lifesaver for moisture-related skin problems. In hot, humid shelters during blackouts, rashes, chafing, and fungal infections spread quickly. Dusting cornstarch on irritated skin keeps it dry and reduces friction, preventing painful sores that can slow you down. Parents have long used it as a natural baby powder, and doctors confirm it's safe for adults in emergencies. Burn victims in World War II field hospitals were often treated with cornstarch poultices to cool skin and prevent infection when supplies were scarce. Food applications are equally impressive. Cornstarch helps stretch limited ingredients, thickening soups and stews to make small portions more filling. It also extends the life of fried foods by absorbing excess grease, reducing spoilage during storage without refrigeration. In Asia during wartime shortages, cooks relied on cornstarch coatings to preserve meats longer and keep meals edible even in primitive conditions. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Cornstarch can act as an improvised fire extinguisher for small grease fires. Sprinkle it directly over flames, and it smothers the fire by cutting off oxygen, similar to how baking soda works, but with more bulk per scoop. Families in rural areas have successfully contained dangerous stovetop blazes using nothing but kitchen cornstarch. Hygiene and household care add another dimension. Cornstarch works as a natural deodorant, shoe freshener, and even dry shampoo when water is scarce. Mix it with vinegar, and you've got a powerful cleaner for windows and surfaces without needing chemical sprays. In desperate situations, survivors have even used cornstarch paste as an improvised adhesive for sealing envelopes, repairing paper maps, or patching light cardboard containers. Morale matters too. Cornstarch can be used in baking comfort foods, pies, custards, and desserts that boost spirits when survival fatigue sets in. Something as simple as a pudding made from powdered milk, sugar, and cornstarch can turn a bleak meal into a moment of hope. At under $2 a box, cornstarch is lightweight, stores indefinitely when dry, and packs dozens of survival uses into one tiny package. Add several boxes to your pantry, you'll thank yourself when modern solutions disappear. Number 5. WD-40. Most people know WD-40 as the stuff you grab when a door hinge squeaks. But in survival situations, this unassuming blue and yellow can turn into one of the most powerful multi-purpose tools you can carry. During the 1989 San Francisco earthquake, homeowners documented using WD-40 not just for repairs, but to keep critical gear functional when nothing else worked. What started as a simple water displacement spray has become an overlooked survival essential. The science behind WD-40 is straightforward. It was originally engineered to repel water and prevent corrosion on metal parts of the aerospace industry. That means in emergencies, it keeps knives, saws, and firearms from rusting, even in damp or flooded conditions. For preppers storing tools long-term, a quick coating ensures your most important equipment doesn't seize up right when you need it most. But the uses don't stop at maintenance. WD-40 is also a fire starter. Spray it lightly on kindling or damp wood, and it helps catch flame instantly, a proven trick campers and survivalists swear by when storms leave everything soaked. In blackouts, that single spark could be the difference between freezing and warmth. During Hurricane Harvey, families reported using WD-40 to protect door locks and generators exposed to days of rain. Others sprayed it on rubber seals and car doors to keep vehicles operational when water threatened to immobilize them. Mechanics confirm that WD-40 can revive flooded engines and free stuck bolts, making emergency repairs faster and safer. The tactical applications are surprising too. WD-40 removes sticky residues, chewing gum, and even duct tape remnants, handy when repurposing materials in the field. Hunters have used it to mask human scent from gear, and hikers have applied it to prevent snow buildup on shovels and tools. In urban disasters, it can even act as a deterrent. A quick spray on windowsills or door edges makes it harder for looters to grip surfaces and force entry. At roughly $5 a can, WD-40 is cheap insurance. Compact, long-lasting, and endlessly useful, it deserves a place not just in your garage but in every emergency kit. When disaster strikes, it's not flashy gear that saves the day, it's practical solutions like WD-40 that keep your world running. Number 6. Elastic bands. Most people toss elastic bands into junk drawers without a second thought. But in survival situations, these simple loops of rubber can transform into one of the most versatile tools you own. During the 2011 Japan earthquake, families stranded in evacuation shelters used nothing but elastic bands to secure tarps, patch broken bags, and even lash together makeshift cooking setups. It's proof that sometimes the smallest items carry the biggest impact. The science is simple. Elastic bands store tension and release it as force, which makes them uniquely useful for binding, securing, and improvising. Unlike rope or tape, they stretch, adapt, and grip tightly around uneven surfaces. That flexibility creates survival solutions no other tool can match. Start with gear repair. A broken backpack strap, tent pole, or water bottle lid can cripple you during a crisis. Elastic bands can reinforce those weak points instantly, holding gear together long enough to keep moving. In cold climates, where duct tape loses adhesion, rubber bands maintain grip and flexibility even when temperatures drop below freezing. The utility extends to food and water. Elastic bands secure improvised lids on containers, preventing contamination and spills. In Venezuela's blackouts, families used bands to reseal jars and bottles when refrigeration failed, slowing spoilage and reducing waste. Bands also help bundle firewood, keeping kindling tight and portable during evacuations. The tactical uses are equally impressive. Hunters have long used elastic bands to silence rattling gear, wrapping them around metal tools to prevent clanking. Survival instructors teach using bands as improvised slingshot power, creating small hunting or defensive tools with nothing more than sticks and stones. In urban survival scenarios, bands stretched across doors or drawers can serve as silent alarms, snapping loudly if tampered with. Medical applications shouldn't be overlooked. Elastic bands can act as temporary tourniquets, help secure bandages, or keep splints in place when tape or gauze runs out. In field emergencies, speed matters, and having dozens of bands on hand can buy critical minutes before proper care arrives. At under $2 for a bag of hundreds, elastic bands are lightweight, compact, and practically unlimited in uses. Add them to your emergency kit, glove box, and bug-out bag. When crisis hits, you'll realize these tiny loops of rubber pack survival value far beyond their size. Number 7. Honey. To most people, honey is nothing more than a sweetener for tea or toast. But in survival situations, this golden liquid becomes one of the most powerful allies you can store. Archaeologists opened Egyptian tombs thousands of years old and discovered jars of honey still perfectly edible. That's right, honey never expires. And in a world where everything has a shelf life, this is nothing short of miraculous. The science behind it explains why. Honey's unique chemistry, low moisture, high acidity, and natural hydrogen peroxide production creates an environment where bacteria and mold cannot survive. That makes it more than just food. It's a natural preservative and a medicine in its purest form. Modern research confirms what ancient civilizations already knew. Honey heals. Applied directly to cuts, burns, or infected wounds, raw honey acts as a natural antibiotic. It pulls moisture from the wound, suffocates bacteria, and promotes healing without the risk of expiration like modern creams. Real disaster stories prove its worth. During the 2021 Texas freeze, one family ran out of medical supplies by the third day. Remembering an old remedy, the mother applied raw honey to her son's infected scrape. Within a single day, the swelling decreased, and by the fifth day, the wound had completely healed. No pharmacy, no expensive ointments, just honey. But honey isn't only about first aid. In emergencies, your body burns through glucose at a rapid pace. Honey delivers immediate energy in the form of natural sugars, keeping both body and brain functioning at peak when decisions matter most. Mental clarity can mean the difference between safe choices and deadly mistakes. There's also a psychological benefit that most preppers overlook. In long, stressful crises, morale drops fast. A spoonful of sweetness in bitter tea or straight from the jar provides comfort and reminds families of normal life. That small boost of joy can keep spirits high even when everything feels uncertain. For storage, always choose raw, unfiltered honey. Unlike processed honey in plastic bears, raw varieties retain enzymes, antioxidants, and full medicinal strength. Stored in sealed glass jars, it lasts indefinitely. Even if it crystallizes, gentle warming restores it to liquid form. At just a few dollars a jar, honey is medicine, energy, and morale all in one. Number 8. Salt. Most people think of salt as nothing more than seasoning for food, but in survival situations, this humble mineral transforms into one of the most valuable resources you can store. Throughout history, salt was so critical that it was once used as currency. Armies marched with it, cities were built around it, and civilizations collapsed when they lost access to it. In a modern disaster, its value doesn't change, it multiplies. The science is simple. Salt preserves life by drawing moisture out of bacteria, preventing them from multiplying. For centuries, meat and fish were salted to last months without refrigeration. When the grid fails, salt becomes one of the only reliable methods for food preservation. A 5-pound bag could mean the difference between spoiled meat and extended rations for your family. Medical uses are equally vital. A salt and water rinse soothes sore throats, disinfects mouth wounds, and helps heal minor infections when medicine isn't available. Salt solutions also rehydrate the body during heat exhaustion and prevent dangerous electrolyte imbalances that strike during prolonged stress or dehydration. Soldiers in World War II carried salt tablets to keep their bodies functioning in brutal conditions. Hygiene is another overlooked benefit. A pinch of salt in water becomes a natural antiseptic for cleaning wounds. Used as a scrub, it removes grime and bacteria when soap is scarce. Even morale improves. Salting bland rice, beans, or vegetables transforms survival food into something edible, encouraging families to keep eating when appetite fades. At under $2 for a large bag, salt is one of the cheapest, longest-lasting preps you can buy. It never spoils, requires no special storage, and delivers nutrition, preservation, and medicine in one package. Stock it now, because when disaster comes, salt won't just season your food, it may save your life. At the end of the day, survival isn't about fear, it's about confidence. Knowing that simple, ordinary items hiding in your home can turn into powerful tools gives you an edge that money can't buy. These aren't luxury gadgets or military gear, they're reminders that resilience often comes from the smallest, most overlooked things. Preparedness starts small. Maybe today you pick up an extra bag of salt, a jar of honey, or a few packs of elastic bands. It doesn't seem like much, but in a blackout, a flood, or a storm, those small steps add up to big protection. And the real reward isn't just survival, it's peace of mind. When everyone else panics, you'll know you're ready. If this video opened your eyes to just how valuable ordinary items can be, share it with someone you care about. You never know whose life it could change. And if you found value here, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because our next video reveals the 5 deadly mistakes most people make when storing emergency water. And trust me, you're probably making at least 2 of them. Stay safe, stay prepared, and remember, the strongest survival tool isn't gear, it's knowledge. And knowledge weighs nothing.